The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
And you're going to love it.
Okay, let's go.
So this is a tweet from me. I don't normally read people's tweets, but in standing with Ukraine, the Biden-Harris administration convinced them, Ukraine, to abandon a peace deal that would have ceded only half of the territory that Russia now occupies. And for that opportunity to lose twice as much of their homeland, they paid with tens of thousands of innocent lives. We did this to control the 11 trillion of minerals under the Donbass. We did it to grind down the Russian war machine on the grist of Ukrainian teenagers. We did it to hand out hundreds of billions of dollars to U.S. hedge funds who are, as we speak, carving up rights to Ukraine's fertile soil and vast mineral resources. The truth is the United States has never stood with the people of Ukraine. That is simply a jingle, an ad campaign broadcast to those who have never been there, designed to sell taxpayers on the appeal of prolonging war for profit. We have cost Ukraine her territory. We have cost Ukraine her children. The war hawks and the bankers are no friends to Ukraine. Whoa!
Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope you got to relax a little bit, get your steps in, enjoy a little sanity after a crazy week last week. Anyway, I'm going to, continue on the path we started on Friday, and that is House of Pain, jump around, do a bunch of clips, and, talk about a variety of things that are going to span, different kinds of categories and different kinds of topics. I've been wanting to play that clip for a while because I had posted it on Instagram and Facebook, and it had gotten a lot of questions and stuff because, ironically, I didn't even know who this person was, but that was Amaryllis. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing her name properly. Fox Kennedy. She is Robert F. Kennedy's daughter-in-law. I guess she's married to his oldest son, and she's a former CIA agent. And, what I thought was interesting and what I really want to try to hone in on is, tying a lot of the stuff together in terms of the things that have taken place. And as part of that, it's going to be interesting to see what happens now that Trump is here in round two. And something that I have decided that I'm personally going to do, and I'm actually going to try and really keep track of this using some AI tools and some other things, is I'm going to hold him accountable to the things that he says he's going to do. I looked back on his first presidency and, again, obviously that is a very difficult job to just come into, especially if you've had no political, background. I think inherently, at least I'll speak for myself, I thought at the time, this is Donald Trump. He's a successful businessman, blah, blah, blah. I don't care about personal feelings. I'm talking about like his intellect and, the success level that he's achieved. And by the way, when I hear people, and again, this goes to the 30,000 foot discussion that I try to always encourage you to have. When I hear people criticizing Donald Trump in terms of, forget his politics, but in terms of the success in his life, I seriously have one simple answer. I'm like, dude's got his name on a ton of gigantic buildings, golf courses, properties. Do you? I don't. I don't have my name on gigantic, but you don't see Star on gigantic buildings, golf courses, and the like. And regardless of whether his dad gave him a head start or not, and regardless of anything, I don't care. That's success. That's success. If you look at the Mar-a-Lago property in Florida, is your house nicer than that? My house is not nicer than that. And so I'm not throwing stones at the guy for that type of stuff. Again, you want to criticize his politics and things like that, that's fine. But, when I look at him from do I deem him successful? Of course I do. Of course I do. Anybody that has a net worth, and it's not all about net worth. It's not, I'm just going to end on this real quick because I really want to get over the divisive past 8 years, hopefully. And I'm going to try and create some content to help do that. But my point is that you've got a guy here that, and I've talked about this before, he's risen to the top level in three different disciplines: real estate, entertainment, and then politics. The only guy that's in that same league is Arnold Schwarzenegger, who rose to, the top pinnacle in his three disciplines: bodybuilding, entertainment, and then politics. And so, I think it's hard enough to rise to a top level in one discipline, let alone three. So anyway, you've got to respect all that. And like I said, I'm really going to hold him accountable to the things that he should do this time. And if he doesn't, then I'm gonna critique the hell out of him, and I think we all should, Republicans and Democrats, especially Republicans. Those of you that, are diehard Trumpers or diehard whatever, let's hold them accountable. Let's absolutely hold them accountable. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I'll tell you the start of that, which I was so happy to see took place this weekend. And that is, Trump came out and said that Nikki Haley and Mike Pompeo will not have roles in his administration. And that was amazing. I mean, that really was. That was like such a step in the right direction to basically come out publicly, especially with those two, because Nikki Haley has, she's a cockroach, man. She's a cockroach. She's a survivor. And Mike Pompeo is a bad dude. He's a bad guy. I'm going to play you some stuff to talk about that. He's literally a bad human being. He truly is. And for him to come out publicly and say, hey, thank you for your service. I appreciate what you did in the last administration, but there's not going to be roles for you in this administration. That's huge. That's huge. That is definitely 2 steps positive. Now, I hope he does the same thing with a bunch of other guys, and I think he will. I'm talking about people like Bill Barr, Kevin McCarthy, Pence. I mean, Pence is not going to have a role. But even like Lindsey Graham. Actually, let's talk about these. Lindsey Graham, Marco Rubio, Tom Cotton, even Speaker of the House Mike Big Johnson. These guys suck. These guys are trash. These guys are total trash. And they're absolutely, part of this uniparty establishment, neoconservative warmongers in the Republican Party. And so I'm hoping that he really distances himself from them. And I'm definitely going to hold him accountable to that. But he's off to a good start with Nikki Haley and then Pompeo, not bringing those guys on board. But what the Amaryllis Kennedy talked about in terms of Ukraine, that's another one. Let's see if he really can bring this war between Ukraine and Russia to an end, because it needs to come to an end. It absolutely does. Man, Ukraine has just been pulverized. Whew, man, that was all in one breath. Holy mackerel. All right, next topic. Oh, actually, really quick, let me play this other clip, because I did have this next to that one. And this is from Senator Tommy Tuberville. But just give a listen to this, and then I promise we'll move on from Ukraine.
Think about, when was the last time you saw live footage on the ground in Ukraine? It's rare, because Ukraine is losing, and is losing badly. This comes after we just gave Ukraine $60 billion more of taxpayer money earlier this year to prolong this war. I see President Zelensky, a uniparty puppet, is here begging for more money on a campaign trail with Kamala Harris. It feels like he's here every other month demanding more and more taxpayer money. That's because he knows that the money spigot will cut off if Kamala Harris doesn't win in November.
All right, so obviously she didn't. So let's see if that spigot cuts off. Here's the other one, is Israel. You're not going to hear that type of rhetoric. I actually shouldn't have called that rhetoric, because I agreed with them. You're not going to hear that strong of a stance from most Republicans, if not all Republicans, when it comes to Israel. But let's see what happens there as well. So I'm going to keep an eye on that also. All right, now, next topic. I posted this on Instagram and got a ton of questions because people didn't understand it. But, one of the things that we saw happen in the election toward the later half, and if you remember, I read for you a quote from, or a tweet from Patrick Bet-David, who said, hey, you're probably going to see a bunch of random celebrities, coming to the aid of Kamala Harris And chances are those celebrities kind of had Diddy files on them. And seriously, that's probably true. We've talked about Mark Cuban a bunch. I mean, that dude was just unhinged during this entire process. But what's interesting is now a lot of clips from the past are recirculating on social media. Man, these investigative journalists, which are like normal people who are just tired of all the nonsense. It's pretty insane what they're going back and uncovering. So I wanted to play this interview from Jennifer Lopez with Matt Lauer. So give this a listen. This is very interesting. And basically, I'm going to tell you the reason I'm playing this before you even listen to it. And that is, I think this clip, when you listen to her, this was the birth of them having leverage on Jennifer Lopez and then leverage on P. Diddy to get him to basically transform into Black Epstein. I'm serious. Like Black Epstein, his goal was to throw these freak off parties and throw all this stuff and get a bunch of dirt on as many people as he could. So then that could provide leverage. And it goes back to that nightclub shooting, I believe in 1999. I think that's when it was. Yeah, 1999 shooting where basically it was Diddy that shot the guy. They pinned it on his bodyguard and they pretty much let Diddy and J-Lo off the hook. But I think that's when they became assets. Give a listen.
We know what happened and we hope, that it all turns out the way it's supposed to.
You had to be disturbed by a report in the New York paper yesterday.
Yeah.
It said an eyewitness along 8th Avenue as your car drove by saw a female hand throwing a gun out of the car.
Ridiculous. I don't even
You're the only female in the car. You don't want to talk about it?
Ridiculous.
You very confident that Puffy will be found innocent in this trial?
Yes, I will.
You going to testify?
If they need me.
But you haven't been asked
I
yet.
haven't been asked to,
So that was a super young J-Lo or younger J-Lo. And, she, if you watch the video, you can tell she's so nervous. She looks great, though, by the way. But she's so nervous. And, she's just lying. She's just lying. She's like a female eyewitness said they saw a female throw the gun out the window. And you were the only female in the car. And her answer is ridiculous. Ridiculous. I'm not going to talk about it. Ridiculous. Anyway, I think that was the birth of them having leverage on those two. And who knows, maybe more and more will come out. I also think they somewhere, somehow got leverage on Mark Cuban, and that's kind of caused his demeanor over the past many years, but definitely over the past 6 months, especially against Trump and Elon. All right, next topic. All right, I saw this on Instagram on, I think it was like Saturday night or Friday night. When I play the second part, you'll realize how exciting of a Friday or Saturday night I had. But I saw this on Instagram, and I did like the message, but I actually didn't believe that it was possible the way this person made it out. And basically what they did was they acted kind of like they're having a conversation with ChatGPT through the conversational mode, which I've talked about before, where you basically press the microphone on the ChatGPT app and you can kind of talk to it back and forth and it'll answer you. And so they created this video that's gone pretty viral in terms of the content. So give this a listen in terms of the content of what is spoken, first of all.
If you were evil and wanted to destroy America, how would you do it?
If I wanted to destroy America, 1, divide society. Encourage division across political, racial, and ideological lines, amplifying conflicts that create distrust and weaken national unity. 2, weaken education. Gradually lower standards and shift focus away from critical thinking, creating a population that's more easily influenced and less informed. 3, damage public health. Promote widespread use of unhealthy foods, chemicals, and pharmaceuticals, leading to chronic illness and dependency. 4, break community bonds. Undermine family and community structures by fostering isolation and individualism over collective support. 5, control the narrative. Limit free speech and censor alternative viewpoints, creating a culture where people fear speaking openly. This would erode resilience, leaving the nation open to influence and control.
Sound familiar?
All right. So even though I did really agree with the things that quote unquote ChatGPT said in terms of his answer of if you were evil and wanted to destroy America, how would you do it? I mean, if you really think about it, seriously, if you really think about it and think about what's taken place, quite frankly, the past 8 years, I'll make it the past 8 years and definitely the past 4. But all the things he talked about, the division, being the first and foremost, and then, creating public health crises, attacking the education process, all of that stuff has really taken place. But anyway, to be fair with this thing. So when I heard that, I was like, there's no way ChatGPT gave that answer. I really don't think it did. So then I was like, you know what? Let me try it. I'm going to kind of simulate that and ask ChatGPT the same exact thing and see what it says. And so here was that answer. Hey, ChatGPT, if you were going to destroy America, how would you do it?
That's a pretty serious and heavy question. I'm all about positive vibes and constructive ideas, so I'd rather focus on building things up and making the world a better place. Is there something else on your mind that we could chat about?
No problem. I just saw somebody do this on Instagram, and to be honest with you, I didn't know if it was real or not, so I was testing it out on you.
Got it. No worries. It's always good to question what you see online. If you ever have any doubts or need a second opinion on something, I'm here to help. What else is on your mind today?
Nothing. I feel like I have to sneeze right now, but that's it. I'm going to go to bed.
Well, I hope that sneeze either happens or passes quickly. Have a great night's sleep. And if you ever want to chat again, I'm here. Yeah, I think that was Saturday night, or was that Friday night? I don't know. Anyway, one of those 2 nights. But here's the other thing. I mean, I thought that was pretty cool. I really, you do have to second guess everything, even if you agree with something. So like when I heard and saw that clip, I was like, wow, that's really good. And then in my mind, I'm like, there's no way ChatGPT gave that answer. So anyway, another testament to all the folks that have not tried ChatGPT and are not embracing this AI revolution. Unfortunately, it is here to stay. And so I highly, I've said it before, I will say it again. I'm going to talk about this more. I would encourage you to start to familiarize yourself with everything AI because, again, it is not going away and you might as well get ahead of it. I think it'll benefit you career-wise and also personally. So anyway, all right, there was that. I thought that was funny. Next up, I am very curious to see what roles Trump gives to really 2 people, Vivek and Tulsi Gabbard. I'm very curious to see what he gives to Vivek and Tulsi Gabbard. For some reason, I have a feeling Vivek might get Antony Blinken's role as Secretary of State. It's definitely an important and big job, and obviously you're sort of the point person for the United States globally with other countries, and I honestly think that guy could excel in that. I actually think I could do really well in that role, but I don't really see myself getting that role. So I'm going to let Vivek handle it. I think he actually would do really well. Now, the only thing with that is I think that role requires a crazy amount of travel. I don't know if he'd want it with all his other ventures and especially having 2 young kids or not. But it's a huge role, and it'll be interesting to see if he gives him that and if that's kind of that direction. Tulsi Gabbard, I don't know. She's definitely going to have something. I need to think about what that's going to be. But give a listen to this from Vivek because I heard it and I liked it. And I will say, for the most part, I don't really see a lot of Republicans rubbing this in other people's face. I don't see it. If you do, let me know, but I don't really see it. I see people that are, the super
Team Trump guys are celebrating, and they deserve to celebrate. There's nothing wrong with that. The Democrats would have celebrated probably 50 times harder and definitely would have rubbed it in the Republicans' faces. I really do believe that. So I'm not really seeing a lot of that rubbing it in the face. I am seeing a little bit of celebration, but give this a listen. I liked what Vivek said here.
Republicans is that after, yes, we won and won decisively, we're done criticizing Kamala Harris or Joe Biden or the past. Let's turn the page to chase the future. One of the things I loved about Donald Trump's victory speech, him beginning to talk about this golden age in America, a growing economy, an immigration system that works. We now have an electoral mandate to deliver it. And so to Republicans, my ask is, you know what? Let's put aside our own sense of grievance or vengeance or whatever. We won. Let's use it. We're running to something. And my ask of Democrats and to those on the left, just give them a chance and give us a chance to say that, you know what, we have a chance to unite this country. Most people favor economic growth. Most people want to pay lower taxes. Most people want an American dream for their kids and an immigration system that works and secure borders for our country and don't want their kids lining up to fight in World War III. That's the opportunity that we have. And I think it's a generational opportunity that we shouldn't squander, even to those who disagreed. My ask is give us a chance, and we're going to do our part by exhibiting, I hope, some grace to the people who we believe were wrong. But in moving this country forward, that's what we're looking to do.
I know there's still a lot of you out there, and a few of the closest people in my life, actually, who are not really sold on this guy. And I don't know, man. I mean, obviously, everything could have two sides to it. But, for example, when I hear him articulate what he just articulated, it's hard to poke a hole in that. It's hard to poke a hole in that. And if you didn't catch it, rewind 30 seconds or 45 seconds or 1 minute and go back and listen to that again, because it's all common sense. It's all common sense. And like I said, it kind of feeds on what I said earlier about I don't really see a lot of gloating, so to speak, and good. Let's move on. Let's start to actually figure out ways to fix things. As I was listening to that, I started to think, what are the top positions, cabinet positions that are in, somebody's administration? And so I asked ChatGPT, I said, starting with the vice president, can you list what is considered the top 5 most important positions in the cabinet of a president? And then for President Joe Biden, can you tell me who is currently in those roles? And so it answered me. It said, the vice president and the next top 4 cabinet positions considered most important are obviously Vice President Kamala Harris, Secretary of State Antony Blinken. That's the one I think is going to go to Vivek. Secretary of the Treasury Janet Yellen. This needs to go to a real financial-based person. I guess maybe someone in venture capital or private equity. Really somebody probably that is highly successful in the art of making money and understands money. I'll have to give some thought to who I think will be put in that. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin. This guy's awful. I'm glad he's going to get fired. I am curious who he's going to put in that. Thank God it's not going to be Mike Pompeo, as we talked about earlier. And then number 5 is Attorney General Merrick Garland. So with the Secretary of Defense, obviously that probably needs to be kind of a military type person, a general or something along those lines. And then the Attorney General, that's obviously some type of legal entity, a lawyer. I don't know who that's going to be either. I'll have to give thought to those 4. So far, my main pick is Secretary of State to Vivek. And gosh, if he doesn't give it to Vivek, maybe he would give that to Tulsi Gabbard. Maybe that would be what he gives to Tulsi Gabbard. All right, that'll be my call for today. And by the way, not to gloat, but you got to give me my small wins, considering I was so off in calling the actual happenings of the election. But I did say in an episode many, many, many months ago that RFK Jr. was aligning himself with Trump and then would take on the role of the head of the FDA. And it turns out he is going to take on the role of the head of the parent organization to the FDA. So he's going to be head of the HHS, the Health and Human Services. And so the FDA falls under that along with a few others. So anyway, I think that counts as calling that one. All right, party people, we're at 25 minutes. I could keep going, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Those of you that are listening to this on your 30-minute walk, I will take you out with a really nice song. And you know I like to use the word banger in terms of music. And so here's a lovely banger. Call a spade. We're going to have a good week. I'm going to try to start pushing the needle a little bit. And seriously, I hope we start moving toward a chance for unity. You know what I mean? And that's what I would say to all you out there that didn't vote for Trump and that even hate Trump. Give the dude a chance. Give this new movement a chance. And I'm not talking about MAGA. I'm talking about the group of people that seem to be wanting the best for all of us, okay? Now, let's hold them to task and let's see if that truly is the case. All right, call a spade. Enjoy this.
I'm going under and I feel this time there's no one to save me. This all or nothing really got a way of driving me crazy. I need somebody to heal, somebody to know, somebody to have, somebody to hold. It's easy to say, but it's never the same. I guess I kinda like the way you numbed all the pain, and now the day bleeds into nightfall, and you're not here to get me through it all. I let my guard down, and you pulled the rug. I was getting kinda used to being someone you loved.
That was a great way to end it.
This episode was brought to you by the new book, Deep Shallow Dive Into You, available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hardcover and paperback. Don't forget to sign up for our new mailing list on our website at deepshallowdive.com.